This is a summary of the events that took place in Miss Night and Day episode 10, where Ji-young, Mi-jin, and Byung-duk attempt to obtain proof against Baek Chol-kyu at Hwadong Medical Center. Byung-duk uncovers a substantial supply of fentanyl in the pharmacy, while Ji-young finds an unusual-looking medication in the basement storage that is to be sent for analysis. For a drug test, Lim-sun is able to obtain Baek's shaving razor in the meantime. The three barely make it out of the medical facility, and Lim-sun questions Baek's use of his aunt's old blood test. The following day, Lim-sun discovers that Baek has taken a few days off and is really concerned for her safety. In another place, Baek discovers from the CCTV footage and the lost razor that Lim-sun had visited his office. When Lim-sun confesses she's been hunting for a cat to Ko-won the following day, he helps her out by posting the missing cat poster De-young had on his social media account. They soon get a lot of leads, one of which looks good. When Lim-sun and Ko-won get at the location, she discovers that the person she is seeing is actually a fan who is only there to see Ko-won. Simultaneously, De-young encounters Ji-young and extends an invitation to her home so they can discuss Mi-jin. While there, Mi-jin contacts De-young to let her know she won't be returning till later. Ji-young becomes frightened upon hearing a man's voice. He spends the next few hours worrying about Mi-jin and debating whether or not to use the GPS tracker, but he ultimately decides against it because it is unethical to do so unless Mi-jin is in danger. He does try to phone Mi-jin, but Ko-won answers when she's out in the neighborhood looking for the missing cat. Ko-won brings Mi-jin home later that evening as Byung-duk learns that the drugs at the club have been moved to Abongsan Mountain. The following day, Ji-young calls the club member he had apprehended using the gaming trap and forces him to divulge the location of the drugs that were buried. Ji-young and Byung-duk go to the mountain to look for the drugs, but Byung-duk calls in Lim-sun, who had previously made it to the summit of the mountain in 3 hours because of the challenging route. It is discovered that she accomplished this by climbing mountains. Byung-duk gives up, and Ji-young grudgingly follows her up the mountain. Together, they discover the drugs hidden in the mountain after seeing the naturalist who was one of the witnesses Ji-young had brought Lim-sun to see. After taking the medicines, Ji-young hikes down the mountain by himself, feeling tired, while Lim-sun has already descended. The following day, Byung-duk follows Ko-won and Lim-sun and forces Ko-won to share a drink with him. He tries to give Ko-won a lesson about the age gap between the two, but he ends up becoming wasted. At last, Ji-young takes them both up. Ko-won, who is reluctant to be a third wheel, questions Ji-young about his connection with Mi-jin as they are driving, but Ji-young is at a loss for words. Later that evening, Mi-jin remembers that Ji-young had promised to call, but had neglected to do so. She's already asleep and her phone is off when Ji-young eventually calls her. The drugs from Hwadong Medical Center and the drugs from Abongsan are a match, Lim-sun tells the crew the following morning. Byung-duk is asked to seek a warrant by Ji-young. Ko-won, meantime, gets another tip regarding the senior intern that was intended for the chief but discards it. Later that day, Ji-young visits Mi-jin, but because neither of them is good at expressing their emotions, there is another miscommunication that results in Ji-young leaving and Mi-jin returning home. As Mi-jin returns to give Ji-young an umbrella as it begins to rain, she discovers Ko-won there and he confesses to her. As the episode comes to a close, Ji-young, who was headed home, unexpectedly returns and spots the two of them together. The mystery and the rom-com elements of this episode were both mediocre. The primary characters are